Once again, I took to the internet to ask you guys your biggest Street Fighter 6 questions. Usually I do these types of content pieces on Twitter, but I get far too many responses than I can manage, and it becomes a little bit difficult to tell which questions to answer, and there's a lot of overlap between the questions. So I figured, why not take this format over to Reddit and let you guys ask your questions and upvote the most requested questions and see if I can help answer your questions about Street Fighter 6. So that's exactly what I did here, answering your Street Fighter 6 questions, and let's go ahead and get on into it and see if I can help clear up anything for the people of our Street Fighter here. First question we have from Nybear21. I'd like to see a high-level player analyze what specific situations actually cause inputs to not register, and then look at examples of where people are blaming inputs being eaten and explain how that didn't apply there. A breakdown of reversal timing on wake up, as that seems to be another common complaint. So, you know, when I did this on Twitter, usually the questions would be more along the line of how to combo. If they jump command grab, what do? I'm not getting the same softball questions right out the gate. These are some really, really tough questions. Okay, so first one. What specific situations actually cause inputs to not register? You know, I think the spirit of this question is there's been a lot of people complaining about not feeling like they're gelling with the input interpreter with Street Fighter 6 upon release. And the biggest example that I can think of is, of course, Drive Rush. So I can show an example of that live and in action of how you might feel a little bit off when it comes to your inputs in regards to Drive Rush. All right, so I'm going to have Juri do neutral jump and then Drive Rush at me. And I'm going to attempt to do stand medium kick buffered into my slash to check it. So pretty standard right there. I'm doing my stand MK. Nothing too unusual. However, every once in a while, something weird might happen where you can get a situation like this. Right there, I did stand medium kick, and I clearly did the perfect swipe right there, quarter circle forward, down, forward punch, and it didn't give me the special cancel. Now, that can occur due to the fact that I might have pressed the standing medium kick early and canceled right away, and that buffer didn't continue till the end of the Drive Rush screen freeze. So actually, I should have delayed the buffer of my special move in order to get it to come out. But, you know, clearly I inputted the moves correctly, but due to the screen freezing and time sort of stretching during the Drive Rush startup there with the green flash and the game kind of stops, it messed up sort of the natural flow of the buffer. I needed to have actually delayed my special move compared to when I did it here. Another way this can go wrong is like this. So clearly, if you look at the left there, I clearly pressed standing medium kick, but it didn't come out, and all I got was the swipe to come out. If you input something during that screen freeze, the game tries to buffer your input to happen after the screen freeze ends. However, if you input two things during that screen freeze, the game goes with the latest input you gave. Normally what you do in footsies, you know, you can do buffers like this. I'm doing medium kick buffered to my special move here, and it wouldn't occur unless I interact with the opponent and it intercepts like a move or their hurt box in some way. So I was attempting to do that, but because it activated during the screen freeze, my medium kick never even came out, but I buffered the swipe on top of that and it gave me the swipe instead. So that obviously leads to me getting counter hit and feeling upset. One solution to that is don't input too many things during the screen freeze. You can actually like delay your special move inputs. So input only one move during the screen freeze. Because another example of this is if I input during the screen freeze perfectly, see right there, that's another example. I inputted medium kick during the screen freeze, but right after that I did crouch jab. So what does the game give me? It gives me a crouch jab. So these things can feel weird. You got to be mindful of it and adjust your inputs a little bit during the Drive Rush screen freeze. Like that can definitely feel very strange. Another way to ensure that your moves are coming out, if you're very conscious of checking the Drive Rush, is you can also just hold the button that you want to come out. So as soon as you see the Drive Rush screen freeze, here I can hold my crouching medium kick and it'll come out on the first available frame. So I'm pressing this medium kick very early, actually. But you see it comes out much later. You can definitely ensure it comes out by just holding it during the screen freeze. So that can help prevent you getting different moves than you intend to, maybe over buffering a different input than you intend to. If you are intentionally pressing a button to check Drive Rush, just go ahead and hold that input and it will activate once the Drive Rush screen freeze concludes. That's definitely like kind of an input trick. I don't do it that often, but what I do usually is I try to just not over buffer my inputs during driver screen freeze. That can help prevent you from being upset that things aren't being registered. But in the heat of the moment, it happens to the best of us, man. Things can get funky. Number 2, a breakdown of reversal timing on wake up, as that seems to be another common complaint. I had to dig a little bit because you're asking some really like in-depth engine type questions. I found a resource from Y2D. I reference him a lot on this channel. He's one of the tech monsters in the Street Fighter community, and he had this blog post talking about the Street Fighter 6 input engine details, and I think this might be really what you're looking for. I'll link this in the description. But basically, the input buffer for Street Fighter 6 is in a lot of ways similar to Street Fighter 5. On wake up, you have 5 possible frames for an input. So that's the same buffer window you had on Street Fighter 5 from wake up. What has changed, however, with Street Fighter 6 is the input reader for special move detection has changed. So what people might be struggling with is not the timing, like the input window. It might be the actual inputs themselves. So for example, this goes down to a lot of details about what's legal and what's not legal. There's weird stipulations with double quarter circle forward. Now you must hit diagonal. So before you could do down, forward. This is like a hitbox style input for super. Now you must hit a diagonal for it to be valid. There's other different minor examples like that as well throughout it. But I think also like the motion matching, he goes into great detail about how it determines what a valid input is from reading a sequence of inputs. It gets a little weird in Street Fighter 6 in that it will be very overly lenient and give you certain moves. So he goes into a lot of technical detail about what's happening here under the hood. I honestly don't know this much about the engine. I don't pay attention to it. I just try to have clean inputs, and I don't have that much issue with inputs on wake up. To be quite honest, I think the spirit of this question is mostly related to dry rush. That's the common one I see. But the rest of it, where people are just missing their inputs, they kind of just need to have stricter inputs with their own, their own hands. However, there are definitely input overlap situations where you might buffer a certain input and then intend to do something else, but then the engine gives you the special move, and that's a little whack. So that can happen, but I don't think it happens that much in my personal experience. I think people might just be sloppy with their inputs if they're frequently complaining about this all the time. There are some issues for sure. It's not perfect, but I don't know what you're really trying to get me to reveal here. I'm not struggling to do my inputs for the most part beyond like obvious mistakes that I need to address myself that I'm aware of. So for the most part, I don't know, practice your inputs. All right, next one here from Blue Dragon Flight. If someone wanted to actively improve, how many hours should they spend practicing combos and tech as opposed to fighting other players? This is a big one. I think that if you want to be proficient at the game and to be able to execute the strategy that you have planned, you need to be mechanically sound. It's very hard to execute a strategy if you're flubbing the inputs. So for me personally, when I go into playing ranked, I boot up training mode. You can queue for ranked matches from training mode, and I spend a lot of time in training mode in here, so you can queue up ranked matches in here. I'll just be in training mode before even starting a session, just practicing my execution, practicing my combos. I recently just switched to hitbox again, so I'm really practicing my execution. I will just sit here and repeat sequences over and over and over until it becomes absolute pure muscle memory. Once that's done, I just dropped my level 2 super right there, right? I've been struggling with that input. I just have to keep practicing it over and over. I really feel that if you are not executing your special moves, your inputs on command, and you are struggling with that, you need to absolutely spend more time in training mode. If you're queuing for matches, queue from training mode. I've seen some people queue up for ranked matches and other things, and they're like not going to training mode to practice in between, and that I thoroughly don't understand. So maybe half your time in training mode, half your time in matches. I would say not half your time, maybe like 30 to 40% of your time in training mode, the rest playing in matches. But you really need to spend a lot of time, and a lot of that will be up front. In the beginning of the game, I grinded training mode so much just to be able to control my character correctly. Because like I said, it's very difficult to execute a strategy if you can't actually execute in game. So spend a lot of time in training mode. Anytime you're actively in the game, not playing matches, you should be in training mode. I think you'll find that you'll vastly improve your performance, your ability to convert, your ability to execute what you intend to do on the fly. I think you'll see a lot of improvements, and you'll have more fun in matches because you'll be able to do more cool shit. Training mode is how you get to be able to do cool shit in matches. You don't just keep throwing yourself at ranked or throwing yourself at casual matches or battle lounge and expect to start doing better. You need to digest what you've learned in a match, take it to training mode, and improve from there. Let's see what Grim Drum said here. Practice combo and training mode until it's easy to do 10 times in a row. Restart the counter even if you fail on 9. Turn the CPU on to like level 2 in training and try to land that combo at will against a moving target. Take it to casual match at this point. Ranked is better, but you may have ranked anxiety. I don't. I kind of agree with this to a degree. I don't necessarily use the CPU training method, but I do like the idea of having a moving target or having a CPU that responds. But the way I do that, I'll just have the dummy do things on wake up or on block. So I'll have drive impact, crush, and light punch. I'll put do nothing here. And so wake up reversal, I have crush and light punch or drive impact, or 2 do nothings. Block reversal, crush and light punch, drive impact, 2 do nothings. And then I'll loop my Oki, right? I'll practice my setups like this. Now the dummy will actively do things, and I'll practice my flow chart. Right now the dummy actively responds to what I'm doing. I gotta make sure to react to drive impact. If they block, I might respond to that. You know? So you can create your own drills and scenarios and turn on multiple actions in the reversal settings to make the dummy do multiple things, and practice how you're gonna flow and how you're going to respond to these situations. So that'll help you both practice your combos once you get the hit, but also what do you do if they block, right? I do a lot of drills like that, especially when the game first came out. I did this constantly so that I could get into the muscle memory of doing DI or structuring my offense so that even if they DI'd, I knew my offense would still be DI safe and I could react in time. And then how to convert that counter DI to the combo, to the Oki, to the setup, you know, yada, 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 yada. So you don't have to turn on CPU. You can also create your own drills. And I find that very, very effective for practicing your muscle memory. And then when you go into a real match and you get that knockdown and then they wake up DI and then you smoke them for it, you're going to feel really good. It'll all come together, right? It'll all come together in that moment. And you'll feel like a badass. So don't be like me and get hit by DI there. Practice your counter DI setups. All right, NJ Nia. Hi Brian, I can punish whiffed heavies or super, but I see a lot of high-level players punishing mediums. Is it on reaction or prediction expectation? Both. That's the big secret. It's both. Behind every good reaction is a good prediction. The name of the game with fighting games is mental stack. You cannot react to everything that an opponent could possibly throw out all at once, especially not in a game like Street Fighter 6, which has very offensive mechanics meant to overload your mental stack, such as drive rush, drive impact, regular dash, jump ins, big forward advancing moves, normals, all the options that are character dependent. So you can't react to everything in the world at once. If you did, you would be completely unbeatable and you would be winning every tournament free, right? So what's going on when people actually whiff punish mediums in this game? So what they're doing is they're sitting there and they're thinking, I think this person's going to press a medium here, right? Like they're actually often spending mental energy saying, I'm predicting that they're going to go for this option at this range. So if I'm sitting here in neutral and Juri's at this range, what I'm thinking is she's probably going to try to poke me with that low forward. I'm not really looking at jump it right here. I'm not really looking for a forward dash. I'm just kind of thinking like, oh, I'm near a range where she probably wants to press this because this would be a good range for her. And we're dancing, when we're playing neutral here, what we're doing is we're dancing in and out of our effective ranges. And I understand what options she has at these ranges, right? I know here, she can very easily low forward me, stand heavy punch, crouch medium punch. Over here, there's not as many options. She might have to set up a fireball to release it or drive rush in, whereas I can maybe do stand medium punch to her. But if I wiggle in and out of this range, it might be tempting for her to go for that really high reward low forward into drive rush cancel, right? So then when I see it, I'm just looking for that animation. Oh, she stank her, she stuck her stank foot out there. Boom, get that out of my face, whip punish it, buffer, right? So it's definitely prediction. If I'm looking for the drive rush in this moment and she whiffs low forward, I'm not going to check that, right? You know, the drive rush, very difficult to deal with. This move, drive rush is going to take all of my mental energy, right? This is so difficult to check and so rewarding. So if I'm looking for drive rush, there's no way in hell I'm gonna react to just one crouching medium kick because I'm not looking for it in that moment, right? That might be a time for them to drive rush in. If I'm looking for this crouching medium kick, they might use that to their advantage and just drive rush at me. So that's a huge part of footsies. You can also mitigate what you're looking for, because sometimes what people do is they just mindlessly buffer in these ranges. So I could also preemptively just do this. Like, I'm buffering my medium kick into my special move here, kind of predicting that you might potentially run at me, or you might press a button or something. So I'll do stuff like that, like buffer like that, because, you know, it's kind of mindless. Like, I might just press this stuff thinking like, I'm probably gonna clip you doing something. I'm doing it preemptively, right? Getting a wish punish, if you will. But if I buckle down and really look for it for a medium, mediums in this game definitely have extended lingering hurt boxes, much more than Street Fighter V did. So you have more time and more of a lenient hurt box to intersect with than Street Fighter V. So it's definitely possible. It's a real thing. It is for sure a real thing. Just depends on what you're looking for in that situation, and if you're ready to snipe it and get a big punish. All right, Hyper Reality Show says, how do you compete against throws and throw loops? I practice delay teching, but it's so difficult in online matches. I've always struggled in teching against throw guesses correctly since Street Fighter 4 and get cooked for it. Is there a trick higher level pros use? Is it just the way Street Fighter will always be? It's not necessarily the way Street Fighter will always be, but throw loops are definitely here in Street Fighter 6 right now, and they're a huge part of the game. I think what you need to understand is what are your other options besides throw tech and how to capitalize on them to make sure that when you guess correctly, you swing the momentum in your favor. I think that's what's really important for dealing with throw techs, is making sure that when you find an escape, you get out of the corner, or you turn it into screen space, or you turn it into your momentum. So let's cover what throw teching really is in the first place, just in case other people might not know, or delay teching rather. Juri's doing a throw loop. This is a real throw loop. If I press jab here, it's going to counter hit my throw. But I can tech this throw with a pretty late window. I don't have to throw tech right away. I can throw tech early, or I can throw tech a little late, right? So here, let me show it from the other perspective. So here I'm gonna have Juri do wake up reversal, and I'm gonna have her do regular throw on wake up. So if I throw her and I walk up and throw her, she techs. That's great. However, if I throw her and walk up and press a button, she's gonna get counter hit every single time because she's trying to do throw, right? She's not blocking. I'm gonna counter hit her throw tech attempt. So that's a danger in doing immediate tech. However, what if I crank this delay here to 5 frames? So she's going to slightly delay after wake up when she presses throw. So I'm going to throw her, and let me try to throw. She teched the throw and escaped it. Now, what if I try to frame trap her instead? Huh? This is delay teching. It's one of the most powerful tools in Street Fighter since Street Fighter 4. It's very, very powerful. There is a window where you're allowed to tech throws. If you tech on the very end of that window, or you can option select your block so that they attempt to immediately hit you with a meaty button, you haven't even inputted your throw tech yet. You input your throw tech right after that button would have hit you, so that you're in block stun while your throw tech is inputted so it doesn't come out. However, they go for the throw, you're still within the window to throw tech. So this is extremely powerful. However, it does have downsides, right? If you delay tech, I can shimmy you very easily, right? And most people have a huge delay with their delay tech, to be quite honest. Most people delay tech like very heavy. They'll do something like that. And then that, of course, leaves them susceptible to the good old-fashioned shimmy, which you can punish heavily. Another way people punish this is by neutral jumping. Do you wonder why people throw and then approach and then neutral jump? It's because neutral jump will beat both delay tech and regular throw. But if you have a tight enough throw loop, you can definitely immediately... Now that wasn't a punish there, but with a lot of characters with tight throw loops, this will punish. So immediate tech is safer to neutral jump, actually. It's not a bad option against a lot of characters who have like not airtight throw loops, you can immediate tech and then like crouching fierce or anti-air in some situations. So that is one option as well. So basically, no delay teching. It's great to beat this basic throw and frame trap flowchart, but you need to have more options. So here's one common option: jump forward. So to be quite honest, this will often lose to DP. So this is a super common situation you see at high level. People will hold up forward predicting the throw, and a high level opponent will go for the meaty throw again, and they'll recover in time to anti-air you. However, this is a great tax to pay to get out of the corner. If you jump out of the corner, it's on, the pressure's on them to actually perform the anti-air, and there's a high chance that they might just mess up the anti-air. But this tax, you take a small amount of damage to escape the corner. If you're not going to die from the anti-air, this is a great option because you go back to mid-screen, right? And then the pressure they get from the situation is often not that great. And then you go back to neutral if you back roll. It's a really good option. And also, if they mess up, you might just get a full combo. Holding up forward in the corner, if you guess throw, is very, very powerful. Another option, of course, is the good old-fashioned backdash. So if they backdash, I think in this situation, they're -5 with Juri's throw loop. So let me... Okay, -4 in this one. -4 is negative enough to get a jab. From a lot of meaty throws setups, you can actually backdash and get a punish, depending on the character, of course. And that'll be a punish counter, which means you can combo from your jab into your medium with most characters. Of course, backdash only has throw invincibility. It has no physical invincibility, and you will not air reset out of the backdash like you would in Street Fighter V. You'll be grounded, and they'll hit you with a full combo. So if they dash up and do a jab into a combo, you will eat the combo. So it's a hard read, but that's another option if you predict the throw. You actually get a punish in that situation, and you can turn momentum around in your favor. So definitely something you want to incorporate here and there if you have a hard read. The other option is, once they are, tired of throwing you, you need to also incorporate wake up buttons, abare, right? So say they're actually trying to do shimmies here to bait your wake up throw. Forward dash, back dash, shimmy attempt. You can also try checking them. In this situation, you probably have to do a crouching medium kick to reach, but don't be scared to mix in wake up buttons. If they're going to consistently beat wake up buttons, they're going to be forced to do airtight throws, which will lose to the backdash like I showed. If you mix in the backdash, they're going to start wanting to delay their throw pressure. And once they start delaying their throw pressure, you can mix in buttons, wake up with them, create some space, and then just make sure you convert this space into, an actual knockdown or actual pressure. So yeah, if you're getting throw looped, you are definitely in a bad situation. I didn't mention it here, but of course, wake up reversal, JP, throw looping JP, that's a big risk. You know what happens if you try to throw loop JP. Like, he will actually end your life. So JP has a great anti-throw reversal, but other characters that will have invincible reversals as well, and EXTP. If you have a reversal, use that as well to remind them to not always go for the throw loop. And once they're conditioned to delay their offense because they're scared of your reversal, once that is established, then you can wake up buttons again. Keep these options rotated. You need to be doing something. You need to be waking up with buttons, backdashing, jumping, delay tech, fast tech, reversal, parry. You need to be mixing up your options. You cannot get predictable with your timing or your options, or else you're just going to get mauled. So there's definitely options against throw loops. It's an extremely disadvantageous situation for sure, but there's things you can do to swing the tides back in your favor. Bavaria Beast asks, how do you get rid of bad habits? Bad habits. This is purely psychological. For bad habits, what you need to do is you need to actually think about what your bad habits are and pay attention to them in a match. So one of my bad habits was using Crouch Fierce as an anti-air in situations where I needed to use air throw. So I would be playing games, and then people would jump at me at angles where Crouching Fierce would not work. Crouching Fierce, amazing anti-air, and this was consistent across multiple characters and titles, right? In Street Fighter V with Balrog and Oro. Crouching Fierce Punch is, with a lot of the characters I played, has been a great anti-air, but it does not cover behind the head at these angles where people will go for these perfectly spaced cross-up jumps. And I would always reflexively just press Crushing Fierce because I would, have my anti-air relegated to my system 2 thinking. My lizard brain was handling the reactions and it wasn't in my conscious brain. And because of that, this would happen to me, and this would often allow people to get out of the corner or get a full combo on me out of nowhere, and it was a really bad habit. What you should be doing is jump back air to air, or with Oro and JP, right? You have air throw. Really strong option, but of course universals like jump back light is a universal option to keep people caged and stop from crossing you up and getting pressure, right? So whenever the situation would come up in game, I would just remind myself, hey dummy, you need to go for the air to air, go for the air to air, go for the air to air. I would just repeat that mantra to myself over and over and keep reminding myself of the situation. And when I was playing matches, I would be telling myself, okay, when I get close to them, look for the cross up, look for the cross up, look for the cross up, look for the cross up. I'd have to really heavily dedicate my focus to reacting to that one thing. And that would obviously make the rest of my gameplay kind of suffer a little bit. But I was using those matches to practice breaking that habit and to add a new technique to my repertoire so that I became a better player, right? So a huge part of it is just telling yourself to do it, man. You just got to talk to yourself. I talk to myself in these matches, and don't be afraid of performing worse overall by focusing on improving a limited aspect of your gameplay. So yeah, maybe in those instances, people might dash up on me and hit me in the face, and I might be a little bit worse overall controlling the ground. But I was trying to focus on doing something new and recognizing the situation when to use a new technique, and that will overall improve me so that I become more well-rounded and you'll win more games in the end. Consciously think about the habit you're trying to break and then consciously focus on the situation where you want to apply the technique, and then you'll start applying it. Now, if it's the inverse where it's like you need to stop doing something, like you need to stop mashing in this situation, it's similar. And instead of doing what you need to do, you need to not do what you don't need to do. Don't mash in this situation. Don't mash here. Don't block here. I think verbalizing it to yourselves and then just keep pointing out the situations where it occurs will help keep it in your mind and keep it active. And then eventually you'll be able to autopilot those good habits more often than autopiloting the bad habits. It takes a lot of time though. Hi Brian, hope you are well. 2 questions slash suggestions. Overcoming plateaus, how to overcome. Currently sitting at 5-star platinum and losing interest in the game. This is a cycle that I've been through before and I'd like to break out of it this time. How to improve consistency. I think this is tied in my particular case to question 1. What I would recommend is having replays and viewing replays of your gameplay. I will watch my own replays all the time because I will think of scenarios and I'll be like, oh, could I have done something better there? Could I have converted this better? Like after a session, I'll have my gear still turning and be thinking about how I played or interactions in certain matches. And it's really convenient for me to just pull up Twitch and I'll just go to my own clips or go to my own archive and I'll just watch it back, right? To be honest, maybe I would recommend to you recording your own gameplay footage. I know you can go to CFN and view the replays, but I'll be honest, I don't like using the CFN replay interface. I find it very clunky and I always end up smacking the wrong buttons, and I hate that I can't scroll back and forth and just go to a certain timestamp and loop it over and over. So I would recommend recording your matches. And when you watch the matches, I guarantee you, if you're in Plat 5, I guarantee you every single game, you will see something that you can improve on. Every single game. You will not find a perfect game in there. Whether it be a punish that you missed, or a move you're not sure how to punish to begin with, a combo that you dropped, a situation where you could have done a more optimal combo. I love the aspect of iterating and getting more and more optimal every time I play, right? That to me is super fun, and that keeps it fresh every single time. That way, when I approach a situation again, I can get a little bit more out of that situation, be a little bit more optimal next time. I think watching your replays really helps get those gears turning and keep that in mind. And then you slowly start incorporating those more optimal punishes, more optimal combos, the awareness of what to punish, matchup knowledge. So those things will keep building over time, little by little. And I really think it starts from watching your own replays. If you don't watch your replays, you have to rely on your memory. And I know for myself included, sometimes matches are in and out of my brain very quick. The replays are so important, but I don't know why it's so hard to get motivated to watch them. I think watching them within the game is not fun. Even if you open a YouTube channel and upload the videos private or something, I'll be brushing my teeth after a stream and I got my 2-minute timer on my electric toothbrush and I'm like, could I have done a better combo there? And I'll pull up a clip for my stream. You know what I mean? It's that simple. And that's how I iterate on my gameplay. A lot of the improvement comes from after I play. Yeah, OBS can record. That's why I clean my gameplay with toothpaste. Exactly. Lulzel says, hi, Brain, big fan. Smile. I wanted to ask for some advice fighting a certain type of player on ranked. It's a type of person who plays incredibly reactive and passive. They down back and wait for you to do something and react with the appropriate option. Poke if they see you dash, anti-air your jump, counter DI, jump fireballs, etc. I don't just mean regular defensive zoners. I mean someone who makes no attempt to take space or go on the offense and seemingly reacts to everything. They don't press anything unless they see you do something. Obviously, it's not a good strategy because nobody's doing this at Evo, but I'm struggling to break through this playstyle. What option should I be looking for on my character, or what can I practice to get through them? Great question, because this is real practical advice, and this is a real type of playstyle that you will need to counter. It is very boring to fight against, but your assessment is correct. It's not good, but you'll see these types of players. I used to see them in like Diamond, Street Fighter 5. I'm sure like Plat and like Diamond and Street Fighter 6, you're going to see a lot of them too. Very common, like mid-level strategy, I would say. So first of all, what you got to think is, if they're walking back and walking themselves to the corner, they're walking themselves to the corner. So if Juri's over here and she's just walking back, you know, taunting me to approach, all you got to do is approach, right? Let the opponent walk themselves to the corner. Now, when you're in the corner, this is where they cannot adjust their spacing, but you still can. Okay? So now, when they're right here, you can now play footsies, and they're at a disadvantage because they cannot weave in and out of your range, right? So they have buttons that cover here, there, you know, there, and you can bob and weave in and out of those ranges, but they cannot do the same to you once you approach a certain range. So you have advantage to just harass them with buttons at this range. Now, depending on the character they play, once they're in this spot, you know what they're going to do? 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, they're going to do whatever it takes at this moment to jump out. What they're trying to get you to do is they want to get you to approach here, and then you go for like a throw or something, and they jump over you, and then they run away. Or they land the cross up on you, and they do a combo, and then they hit and run again. That's what they're trying to do in this moment. One way to counter that is to not be in that position in the first place. They can threaten the jump cross up to side swap once you get too close. So if you're harassing them from back here, they're caged, right? Easy anti-air. Easy anti-air. Now, obviously, your options will differ based on the character, but the goal here, I would say, is don't attempt to rush down. You can just cage them. Keep them sitting here caged, and then anti-air when they try to jump out, right? But also remember, you know, they can't block forever. So if they're sitting here blocking, their drive meter is going down. They will be put into burnout eventually. You can even respond with a DI. If you really want to get your rushdown game going, you can definitely try to DI them. But they're going to be forced to take action. Now, the only thing is you want to be careful about those moments when you go in to press the issue, because like I said, they will be looking to jump over you and to get out of the corner, which is very annoying. However, another option for this as well, like I mentioned earlier, jump back air to air. Keeps them in that corner. Stay there. Be harassed, right? They're doing your job for you when they walk themselves to the corner. You just need to keep them caged. So take space if they give it, because the goal is to get them to the corner, and then the goal is to keep them there. Don't overextend once you get them here. Harass them, pin them down, maybe sneak in a drive rush throw once they're not ready for it, you know? And then that's it. It can be very annoying to fight against these kinds of players, but you know, that's just how some people approach. And of course, you can play the neutral as well. Like if they're sitting mid-screen without walking themselves to the corner, you can definitely poke them. They can't react to everything. You can surprise them with the pokes. Pokes have pushback, will push them further backwards. Guile is hard to apply pressure to. Yeah, he can be, for sure. If someone's literally just down backing and doing nothing, then yeah, you need to apply the throw mix-up game, because throws are guesses. Regular throws are guesses. You can walk in, walk back, and shimmy, walk up, throw. So if they're literally doing down, back, and nothing, you need to apply throw offense, 100%. How do I practice defensive options in Street Fighter 6? I'm a Lily player, and she already doesn't have a lot of defense to begin with. I'm fairly decent at the game, but as soon as the pressure starts, I fall apart completely. Just want help understanding what to do and practice doing. Okay, so I already talked about a lot of the defensive options against throw loops. but I think that entire section applies here. You need to understand when to challenge with buttons versus try to create distance, versus blocking versus parrying. So the idea is you have to constantly keep mixing up your options there, because the basic understanding is if you block someone and they apply a frame trap, you defend the frame trap. They will eventually push themselves out and create distance between you just naturally by you blocking their moves, which means if they want to get another mix-up, they're going to have to walk back in and approach you, because once they push themselves out, the threat of throw is completely gone. So you have no incentive to get opened up anymore. Why would you whiff a throw tech? You'll just block and then they can't hit you. So they're going to have to approach again. Once you read when they're going to approach, you can start pressing your jab and check them from approaching you. And that mind game is applied whenever. After any button, you can potentially mash, right? Or they might want to stagger their wake up and try to beat a delay tech, and then you can mash buttons there. Or, you know, they might just commit to an airtight block string. You block it out, and once you create some space, you jump for a cross up, or you backdash to take more space. You know, you need to understand when to mix in your basic options to read your opponent's rhythm. So do not be afraid to mix in a barre with pressing buttons, mix in wake up super, mix in parries, mix in throw tech, immediate throw tech, delay throw tech, jump options. And then also there's some freebies, which are know which moves are negative from your opponent and what ranges you can press buttons after, right? So that can be just pure matchup knowledge, like not understanding light spin knuckle from Cammy isn't plus, right? Only the heavy one is. So the faster one, you can press buttons after. If you don't know that, you're going to block after and they're going to steal turns on you and get more offense than they should. So there's also those sorts of matchup specific scenarios that you need to understand as well. So mixing your options, I think just play with them and then try to get a feel for people's rhythm. Decision Massive 5512 says, how do I lock a MF down when they in burnout? I try walking them into the corner, but these freaks think they are birds and take to the skies. I spend their whole burnout time chasing them for no reward. Yeah, that's what they're going to focus on. This is the exact same situation that I mentioned previously about the players who don't take any initiative. It's the exact same idea, dude. When you get them to that corner, and once they get here, you need to cage them. There's a whole minigame. When they're in burnout, this is the minigame. You're going to try to like pin them down, and they're going to do whatever it takes to try to get out of this corner, right? And then you're going to try to go for the DI. So there's a whole minigame between when are you going to DI for the stun, and when are they going to try to jump away to get away from the DI. So it's the same mentality. You can, instead of immediately going for the DI, try caging them here. Try like leaving a little bit of distance and preventing them from jumping out. They might walk forward. You can check them when they do that. But yeah, that's the game, right? And then once you finally check them, maybe set up something guaranteed. Like if Juri's in burnout, for example, and doesn't have any super meter, this is guaranteed. She can't forward jump out of this if I drive rush crouching strong with the drive impact. She can't throw either. Cut. What? Hold up. I thought this was guaranteed. Should I do stand medium kick? Hold on, what is this on block? Oh, but I can cancel the stand medium kick earlier. Oh, I thought crouching strong was the best thing to do there the whole time. Okay, well, there you go. I just learned something. This is why you hit the lab. But anyways, having something like this, which is a guaranteed option, is good. So without spending drive rush, if I'm close enough, stand fierce to drive impact is a caged option. They can't throw out of it and they can't forward jump. But from a distance, I can do something like this to approach. Now I can't do drive rush stand heavy punch into DI because if you notice there, my head's in the way, but it's a lock. It's actually a true block string. You have to do, you can only do sequences that have a gap in the middle of it, or else you'll get that lock mechanic. So this will lock, and it won't actually allow me to do the drive impact or stun. The balancing decision behind that is so that you should always be allowed, if you have the meter, to super in between, right? So you can't super between this. It's a block string, so it's not allowed. So this is airtight versus jumps and throws, but there is a tiny gap there where you can super between. If they have no meter though, they're screwed. Like that's essentially checkmate if they have no meter. So know these options and then try to keep the opponent caged and then find your time to DI and get the stun. But yeah, people will get jumpy for sure. They don't want to be in that corner because they don't want to eat that DI and get stunned. It's just how it is. Brian, I'm letting my mustache grow out. Will this help me play better in Street Fighter? I'm going to blame my freshly shaved face for my Evo performance, so yes. Naz Dormu asks, what characters not named Balrog or Oro would you like to see return to the game? Which ones do you definitely not want to see come back? I don't really care. I've never been a person who has like favorite characters that I want to see return to the franchise. I'm very much open to any character that seems cool and gets people excited. With new releases and DLCs for Street Fighter V and Street Fighter 6, I was kind of just waiting to see what they would release, and once I see gameplay footage, I see if I think they're cool or not. It's basically that simple for me. I know characters I'm not really interested in. I'm not interested in Ed. However, I will keep an open mind and see if they change his gameplay, because I hated Ed in Street Fighter V. I hated his design, his voice, his haircut, his gameplay. Did not like that character. I know I'm not looking forward to him, but also keep an open mind at the end of the day. We'll see if he is interesting or not. I'm not really that attached to characters. Oro, I played on a whim. I like the gameplay more than anything. That's what really draws me to a character, is how they play for the most part. And then secondary will be the aesthetics and the personality. So we'll see what Capcom cooks up for us. Hey Brian, big fan. Are you at all worried that the mechanics of the game, Drive Rush, DI parry, will become stale over time and cause players to lose interest? With Street Fighter V, and the V-Trigger V-Skill system was easily able to be expanded on over time, as were the universal drive system for all the characters, where it feels like it might start to get repetitive in the long term. I have a little bit of concern with that, especially in regards to Drive Rush. I think DI is not going to get stale. I think DI is a really fun tension that is constantly present in the match. It's always like, ooh, are they going to DI? Are they going to DI back? Should I go for that meaty DI on them? Should I try to sneak one past them? I think DI will always be fun. Drive Rush, I definitely had concerns about this getting repetitive, especially with Juri Drive Rush, Ken Drive Rush, Jab, things like that. There are issues with that, but I think we're improving at checking it. The biggest offender, I think, is Juri. I think Juri is such a flowchart Drive Rush into medium, 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 into store, into fireball release, into pressure, into Drive Rush again. So Juri is the only character where I look at and I feel like, wow, like this is very stale to me. Other than that, I feel like the game has been very dynamic when I watch and play it. But Juri is the one where it stands out to me like, wow, this is very... I've seen this before. For a first release, first season, I think Street Fighter 6 is amazing. This is the best like first draft of a modern Street Fighter game I've ever seen. Street Fighter 4 through 6. This is the best first season ever. I don't think that it'll get stale long term, because I think the devs will shake things up or add new interesting characters with interesting mechanics to keep things fresh. I think parry will also keep things dynamic. I think the relationship between DI and parry is very interesting. Drive Rush is the only one where I'm like, that's a bit of a centralizing mechanic where it's like, oh, you want to Drive Rush very frequently to get offense, right? So Drive Rush is the only one where I'm like, it can lead to things being like, oh, Drive Rush in, Drive Rush in, Drive Rush in. In neutral, yes. Drive Rush in combos is sick and very dynamic, and I like that. But yeah, Drive Rush in neutral becomes a little centralizing for my taste. However, I still think we're improving at dealing with it, so I still think there is more juice to squeeze out of Street Fighter 6 in terms of understanding the gameplay and the meta. So we'll see as how it evolves. What's your opinion on only having yearly balance patches for Street Fighter 6? While I agree that fighting games should have time to naturally evolve before being hit with balance patches, 1 year feels like a long time. I think twice a year would feel a lot better. But yeah, I guess I did talk about this. I generally feel like the once a year is fine. I don't mind having a few minor changes as like a half season point, but for the most part, I definitely prefer once a year for balance patches. Maybe after the first year, I could be a little bit okay with that increasing, but for the most part, I generally like having a big balance patch at the end of the year. And I think I made the analogy in that video. It's kind of like Christmas morning. You're waiting to see who got, like a new bike under the tree, a scooter, and then who got a lump of coal in their stocking, right? So I think that's always fun when everyone's like on Twitter and social media and like, oh yeah, I got a blimp. I got an Xbox. I got a lump of coal. Did you guys ever watch A Christmas Story? Why is it always a blimp? A Zeppelin. Those were the toys those kids wanted back then. They wanted a Zeppelin. Who even uses that word outside of Led Zeppelin? Flying shit is cool. Yeah, I mean, I liked flying shit too as a kid, like planes. A blimp? All All right, and that's all the questions I have for this video. Thanks so much for everyone who submitted their questions on Reddit, and thanks to you for watching. If you like this kind of content, want to see more of it, please let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.